if I'm going to sit with you here after 10 years and I say, Rashid, what happened? What's the vision look like for you? Welcome to the Rubasha family podcast. We have a very, very special guest in the building. We have Rachid Maliki, a visionary, someone who's used his imagination to create reality. For over 2 decades, he has led global supply chains through transformation. And he's been a genius in this space because it's not just to make them faster or cheaper, but to make them more true. Because every supply chain at its core is a system of promises to customers, to employees, to communities, and to the planet. So you've been someone who's a visionary, and as part of this Dubai UAE tour, we are speaking to people out there to spread such powerful information. So Rashid, if I was to ask you, if I'm an 11-year-old right now, how would you explain to me what it is that you do? Marketing is all about storytelling. Dad, when we first started this business, what did you say to me?
I said, yes, we do a podcast.
Why?
Because I want to tell our story.
Why?
Because I know the story builds a legacy.
Builds a legacy. And that is exactly what we do here at ETS Rubasha Media. We market your story on social media so you could build a legacy for those who come after you, to build your business and your personal brand.
Yeah, follow us on our platform. Go on our website, etsrubashamedia.com.
This is about legacy, and it is about showing up on social media every single day, because if you don't show up, your competition will.
Well, first of all, Sugira, thank you so much for the invitation. I am humbled and honored being part of the guest list to this beautiful podcast. And actually, you started with a very good summary about my career that if I was even trying myself probably to put it in a much better way, I couldn't actually achieve it. So thank you for that sales speech. You've done a phenomenal job. It's a very interesting question. I think if we manage to explain what we do to 11 years old kid, I think we probably have done a very good job, because the hardest part with explaining what you do is actually making it simple for people to understand it. So I'll try my best. So in a nutshell, when someone is asking me what I do, my job is actually to make sure that the right products are in that right place at the right time, with the right price, with the right quality. And I think that summarized the entire process around supply chain, without going in too much details on every step of the way. But if I explain this way to 11 years old kid, that my job, like especially if he's in a supermarket and he's in the area of toys, and I'm saying my job is to make sure that the toys you're holding in your hand get delivered to the supermarket where you are in the right moment, which is basically for cases before Christmas, with the right price, with the right quality. I think I probably succeeded in explaining what supply chain means in a nutshell.
Okay, so if you explain it like that, that makes sense. So how does that happen? Because, we deal with human beings, there's incompetence, mistakes happen, So how exactly do you do that? Can you give us an example? Is it you come into a business and what are the issues that they struggle with from getting this toy, to the shop?
I think we took it from a holistic approach, and we give the process from the start to the end. But the reality, there is a lot more to the supply chain. So typically when you think about the supply chain, and that's obviously depends on different organizations around the world, but the most advanced organizations are actually having their supply chain taking care of what I would call the entire back of the house. So typically when you look to the structure of organization, you have what we call the front of the house, and that's everything around marketing, consumer facing, etc. And the back of the house is everything around operational. So supply chain in particular for me, the way I look at it is taking care of everything around moving the product. And that starts purely from, first of all, helping the design team and the brand achieving what they are looking to from a development perspective. So there is an idea coming in the head of the designers, for example. My job as a supply chain with my team is to ensure that we're helping the design achieving what they have as an idea to become a concrete and a physical product on their hands. To do this, obviously, we need partners, and our partners is our suppliers and our factories around the world, because they will be able to help us, bringing this idea to life through prototypes, and sometimes through the development, especially if it's a new idea. The development process is really long because you go through different prototype stages till we are happy as a brand, as a company with the prototype before we try to scale it to the production. And also, once the prototype has been commercialized in a way and in being shared with the sales team, and we start putting orders in place, the factory has to give us also capacity and make sure that they're also ordering the raw material that are needed for the production. There is also a cycle of the production. And, after the production is being done, there's also a whole phase of quality check, compliance, etc., to make sure that the product meets the consumer requirement. And we're getting to the point where we're saying, okay, great, now we've done a very good portion of the entire process of supply chain. Now we move to the next one, which is everything around logistic and distribution. So we have to move the goods from the other side of the world, because typically our factories are a little bit located in every part of the world, especially South Asia. Move the product to our distribution warehouses, store the goods, and wait really for the confirmation of the order through customer service before we start dispatching the orders. The loop is not being finished, Sugira, hear me out, because sometimes also what happened, even with the best intention of the world, you're not going to be able to check every single unit. And sometimes also when you ship the goods to, whether it is a business or final consumer, you still get some issues, meaning the return of the product, because either the quality was not up to the level, and that's unfortunately happened. But also sometimes, and that's also very important from closing the loops, because for me, from a supply chain perspective, it doesn't start only from the product development side of it, but also finishes at the consumer feedback or the business feedback to us based on the products we delivered, because that's what will help us to correct the course of action. And I'll give an example here. So, in my entire career, I've been in the fashion business for 27 years. I had the luxury to work with really big brands around the world. And, when you send the final product to the consumer, sometimes you get a lot of feedback regarding, and that's also the importance of having a proper form of getting the feedback, because it will help you as well, taking the feedback of the customers and implementing it to the next batch of product development or the next batch of production. So if consumers are giving us feedback on the sizes, for example, it says it fits small compared to what they've been usually ordering from us as a brand, there's for me a red flag that we have to sit down again with the design team and review really our measurement. Did we change anything from the previous spec? Is the fabric reacting differently? So I don't take the return as actually a bad way. I take it more as a really, really huge source, a gold mine of information that will help us as a company and as a brand, usually to rectify everything before we go again to the next one.
Go ahead. To intervene you there's something that you just said that I wanted to stop by. You said, for example, the example of being a gold mine. And I noticed, whenever you go across your website or your branding into who you are, I frequently see those colors of gold and, the infinity prime, which is quite powerful, really in the rules of supply chain strategy. And you talk about excellence, that brands don't gamble with excellence. Can you tell me how you got to this stage and what was your thinking behind the intention to create it like your company, the way you've done it?
I think it's a very good question there, Sujira, and I'm really glad that you actually noticed the colors and the palette color that was used in my branding and my website particularly. So to answer your question, I was, after 27 years in being in supply chain all over the world, in different countries, different locations, but also different companies, you find actually that the pattern is always the same. And, funny enough, most of the time, I would say there is two departments in organization that actually want to be in charge of. Number one is supply chain, and the second one is IT department, because If everything is perfect within the organization, it's not supply chain or IT taking the credit. It's most of the time the sales and the marketing taking the credit. But if things goes wrong, is either supply chain is not delivering, or if supply chain is delivering, most of the organization tell you we don't have the system to support the business, wrong or right. So I found that pattern very common in organization, and it's also depends on the size of the companies. When usually and typically companies, as you might appreciate, are on the startup level, the argument there is we are very small to worry about supply chain. The issue is that when you don't fix the foundation from day one, and I would like always to use the sentence go into the basics. If you don't fix your basics up front, when you scale up, you're actually scaling the problem in the same way. So one of the most important things to the brands in general that actually makes a brand successful versus another one is their ability to keep their promises. You know, when you go to, whether it is a mission statement, whether it is the value for each brand, there's a certain element of promises that they are delivering, and they promise to deliver. First of all, whether to their employee, to their shareholders, but also more important to their customers. And supply chain for me has an important role to play as a part of backbones of the organization to help actually those leaders, those CEOs, those company owners to ensure that whatever commitment, whatever promises they have officially, because it's a public statement. You're putting it on your website. You're putting it as a part of your values of your company. You're putting it as your mission. Whatever statement you put there, whatever promises you are saying, I'm going to give you this, you actually don't lose sleep over it. Supply chain will help you to deliver it. And a simple example to get there, when a customer goes online and order a product, when they receive the product on time, when they received it with the right quality, the right packaging, everything is looked after from a sustainability point of view, everything, you tick all the boxes. This customer is actually a very happy customer. And at that moment, we wouldn't be thinking about supply chain, because purely here is the brand taking the lead in terms of the success of the transaction. I would put the other way around. Let's assume the worst case scenario that I wouldn't wish to any brand. I'm a customer. I placed the same order. I was expecting the goods to be delivered to me this morning. Guess what? The goods has been delayed for 2 days. When I get the parcel, the packaging was actually in a terrible shape. It was damaged, everything. So now we start now talking about supply chain. So supply chain fail actually to deliver and help the brand keeping their promises. So that's what I'm coming saying. I'm here actually to support you and make sure that you actually deliver every single promise you put to your customers, your people, and your shareholders.
I think I'm so happy I'm having this conversation with you. And I just want to start it off with a quick story. So I was in America and my uncle was there. He had back issues, right? So he kept complaining about his back. So, the next day, it was Saturday, he was complaining about his back. Sunday, boom, I walk in his room and he has like a massage thing. And then I said to him, did you order this? He said, yeah, I ordered it from Amazon. I said, on a Saturday, they delivered on a Sunday the next day. He said, yeah. And you could see he was happy. He got his product. And then I walked away. I never thought of the supply chain I just thought, wow, Amazon. I said, that's why they're $1 billion company. I thought, because I was thinking, imagine in my business, how could we have a service that someone orders on a Saturday, the next day they're delivered? People want things fast. So like you just said, the glory gets all to the marketing and to the sales, yes and yes. But if we don't have the supply chain, that this customer orders it on a Saturday, gets it on a Sunday, and he's so happy. So what have Amazon done really well is my question. And then my second question to you is, who are your clients? Who are the type of people you work with? Because what you're telling me, this is valuable. More people need to know about this. And what you just said was so valuable. It's delivering the promises to the customers, and
Absolutely.
I saw that in person.
Yeah, and I think you probably picked up the right example here, Sugira, in terms of which company or which brand we would like to refer to it from the supply chain point of view. And then let's be honest with it. I mean, when Amazon came on board, it changed the whole perception about supply chain from a delivery point of view. You know, no one was talking about the same day delivery a couple of years ago. And Amazon came back and put that, what I would call it in a way, a unique selling proposition for Amazon, because they are coming into an environment, they want to compete with every brand that is existing, and their unique selling proposition was, we will be delivering within the same day. Sometimes it's within even the same hour, depends on geographically where your address is located. And they've been keeping their promises. But they've been keeping their promises because I can tell you their supply chain is one of the best performing supply chain. And the other element I would add to it, Sugira, is actually the amount of investment that Amazon has put also on their supply chain. When you look to their warehousing systems, for example, what we call in our language WMS, which is warehouse management system, the majority of the warehouses of Amazon's are fully automated with robots and everything. So they are trying, in a way, back to your point, and you mentioned it earlier in the conversation, because supply chain is also how to minimize the human error in a way, and that's what also Amazon did extremely well, because the investment. Unfortunately, when you compare Amazon with other companies, given how the importance of the spend and the capex in general, most of the time supply chain don't get any capex until it's a little bit too late, because again the majority of the budget will go to promotion, will go to marketing, will go to consumer facing. The companies that actually now are the best performing companies are the companies that understood the importance of also allocating budget for supply chain to make sure that they are also up to date in terms of technology, in terms of systems, in terms of etc. Because you have, as you said, that's the most important. Why everyone, the first thing that comes in their mind again, and that's how you build a reputation as the brand. If I want to order something very quickly, I can tell you the first brand that would come into my mind would be Amazon. As simple as it is. So to answer your questions, the second question, who are the people that I'm dealing with? I'm dealing basically with what we call medium-sized companies that's actually looking for someone that combines not only the expertise in theory, because I'm not only coming and giving them a full report of 40 or 60 pages and say, here we go, you go and implement it. I'm also the guy hands-on, because I've done it, I've seen it, and I'm here to support them. And also more important, I think, Sugira, what we should never forget is actually the importance of having the buy-in of the local teams. When I'm getting to a company, you need to make sure that you're also taking the team with you in the entire journey, because if you have the buy-in from the team, your mission and your job to help this organization having a resilient supply chain and sustainable supply chain is a lot more easier. If you don't get the buy-in from the organization and the team, they always develop what I would call the antibodies, because they're considering you as a virus, and the first thing they will be trying to do is defending and protecting what they call our ways of working and the way we've done things in the past. But you have to spend a lot of time actually in terms of what I would call the change management, because that's the part that is extremely hard around organizations, especially traditional and family business organizations. They grow up very fast. There is no standard operation methods. There is no ways of working, and you almost start from scratch. And that's the beauty of it. You're helping building a whole ecosystem around supply chain, not only the process itself, but also, documentation, training, systems, everything.
So this brings another topic in my mind. So I have a CEO. This could actually be a potential client. So he just acquired what we are used to. I'm used to mainly service businesses, right? CEOs in service business. But anyway, he acquired a company, some maybe coffee company, that have physical products, and he came into this company because he's acquired it. And he said, Sujiro, I had to let 60% of staff go. People coming in, and that's why maybe the owner sold it, people being comfortable. For example, a lot of maybe things you're saying, the system. So my question to you is, how do you what does that process look like? Like, again, we're comparing that Amazon. How do you come in, and what have they done so well with their supply chain? And some of the things that you talk about that can make a business like that, can help that person to get rid of those human errors that we talked about, so the system is moving and they're delivering on their promises.
I mean, it's a very good question there, Sugar. I don't think there is one single recipe to every single business. I mean, first of all, let me be clear. When I'm coming also to organization, there is not only the bad things about what they are doing. There is also very good stuff that people are doing. That's why they are at their level where they are. Because these people, what I think, what does it help me come in is come in with the fresh eyes. And most of the time, that's actually where the magic is happening. And I would like to get to the discussion about the hiring process. Most of the time, the easy sentence will say, well, we can scale up. We'll just hire another person. That's the easy conversation. That's the easy sentence you would hear always in most of the organizations. But again, you're scaling up with the same problem because you're not going back to the basics and fixing the basics. So what I do most of the time, I mean, there is a methodology that I have created within Infinity Pride. The idea is really to use a couple of A's, what I call the A's. I mean, that's start with assess. So most of the time, there's a set of questions that I sit down with the team, and we go through a lot of questions to understand really first what is the health of their supply chain. We touch a little bit around starting with the product development capability. We touch a little bit around sourcing. Where is the goods coming from? We look to, are they heavily dependent on one supplier, one country? But also more important as well, before even deep diving into those questions, to get is understanding actually from the CEO himself, what is the vision that he wants for his company? Because me coming in, I need to align with the vision of the company. If we don't have any alignment from a supply chain point of view with the vision of the company and the vision of the brand, am I driving the boat towards the north, but the company is driving the business towards the south, then we will never be able to find a match. So my first job is, and that's actually probably the critical element in most of the businesses, is actually the alignment within the organization. As far as there is a vision, there is a strategy, and we believe that the strategy will hold, the rest will take care of itself. So really having first that alignment with the CEO and especially the leadership team, that's the most important. Once we get that alignment from the vision and the strategy, then we can dive in with the teams and understand actually what are the pain points. And trust me, Sugira, from my experience, actually the answers are not coming necessarily from me. They are coming actually from the people within the organization. But most of the time what happened is actually we don't listen to the pain point of the teams. And we think because we're going to bring another system, it's going to make life easier. But yes, we can bring another system. But again, we haven't fixed the fundamental, which is the data accuracy. The data information, because a system A or a system B or a system C is a calculator. If you put 2 plus 2, you're going to get 4. If you're expecting 6, it's just not going to happen. So I always say, let's go back to the basics. And there are certain rules that you need to respect in the basics. Let's fix the fundamentals. And the fundamentals start first with the operational excellence. What are we trying to achieve? Do we have any KPI, et cetera? And we start working, one by one. They are all, obviously, that's why we call it supply chain, because they're all intertwined. But the reality, you need to fix one. Once we're happy with the first one, we move to the next one. We need to move to the next one. So, till we get it. And there is a roadmap. There is a roadmap, absolutely, that we share with the leaders and in the CEO of the organization to get first their approval, but also get the approval of the organization, because I need also champions to help me implementing everything we do. These are actually the ambassadors that will believe on what you're trying to achieve within their organization as a consultant that is coming to help them. And these are the guys that are going to help you implement it across the rest of the organization.
Powerful. And one of the reasons we also selected you to come in, and again, was just to give a lot of value as part of the tour in UAE. Is that where you're based? Because I do know, obviously, when people do come on your website at Infinity Prime, they can see that you offer global consultancy services to businesses across industries, Europe, Asia, and Africa. When we spoke first time, oh, you're in Australia. I was shocked. I thought, you're in Dubai, which is great. We'll meet in Australia one day. But yeah, so where do you spend most of your time?
So I think probably I use a sentence that I read in one of the books in one of the organization. The limit is the sky. Together, and for me is a mindset. Now today you can do a lot of good work without necessarily being from a supply chain. I always believe on being physically on site, especially when you're going to be dealing with advanced manufacturing or warehousing. You have to understand certain elements, so it requires being physically on the site. But there is a lot of things you can do remotely. So, but to answer your question specifically, my company Infinity Prime is definitely located in the UAE. But again, given my international background and also what I would call the barrier language, given the fact that, at the young age, I was immersed in culture that, value languages and value speaking many languages. So, I'd like to think that my English is good enough. I speak a few other languages like Arabic, French fluently. They are my mother tongues, and then get a very good understanding of German as a fourth language. So really, as I mentioned, for me, the sky is the limit. And, again, with the connectivity, especially, and the reason why I also picked up the UAE and particularly Dubai is because of the connectivity of the Emirates across the globe. Because, if you take a 4 hours radius flight from Dubai, you're literally reaching 21% of the population. If you extend it to 8 hours, you're almost at 80%, reaching out 80% of the population. I love Australia, but unfortunately, Australia is far away from everything. So that global reach was, in a way, kind of a limitation being in Australia. That's also the reason why we decided, my wife and I, to go to the UAE and then settle in our new home, Dubai. My wife and I used to get our joke about it. We'd say this is now our number 9 container movement around the globe.
Wow. And why do you say number 9?
Because, we lived in so many countries. So originally from Morocco, we had the luxury to live in Belgium for 10 years. We went to South Africa. We went to Singapore. We lived in city close to Casablanca. We lived in South Australia. We went to Singapore. We came back. We lived in Melbourne, and now we're in Dubai. So, a couple of moves, couple of destination. But again, I'm grateful for that international culture. I have a lot of connections around the world. So I have few friends in different places, and that's what makes the beauty of this job that we're doing is that international aspect, and I love it. I've been always, as a kid growing up in a small town in Morocco, always dreaming about what is happening on the other side of the world. It's a small town, as we keep saying, joking about it, it has only one school and one grocery shop in the entire town. And I was always dreaming to see what happened on the other side of the world. And, as we said, be careful what you wish for. Since the age of probably 19, I haven't stopped traveling. And, I also lucky to have 3 different passports that allows easy travel. You don't have to worry too much about visa and borders procedures. So that's another advantage.
Let me ask you, was it hard when you decided to start your own business? Like, what were some of the struggles that you went through, like being a CEO and being an entrepreneur?
It's a very good question. I wouldn't be lying to you, Sugira, when if I say, I wasn't scared. I was actually, because it's a different environment. Being an entrepreneur and doing my own business is not something new for me, because between 2009 and 2014, I was also owning my own business in Morocco. I was actually running the whole manufacturing. My company producing denim, mainly dealing with the European market, but I think the challenges are always the same. First of all is, you're going to another country. You're starting from scratch in terms of, relation. You have also to demonstrate who you are in the market. And also, one of my coaches always said, like, when you have your first customer, you are in business. If you don't have a customer, you might have the best product in the world, but you don't have any business. And I think you can relate to it yourself. So and again, I'm grateful also for, and that's the beauty of being international. I'm grateful for all the people that, are there out of generosity to help. You just have to ask. And this is the thing that was, in my entire career, Sugira, was extremely hard for me. Growing in a tough environment is asking for help. And it took years of healing and working on myself to be able to, ask for it. Now I'm fairly comfortable doing it, but it took me probably 2 years or 3 years working on myself. And funny enough, a lot of people are actually there to help. They just don't know. And unless you tell them, no one has a crystal ball to understand what is your requirement. And I'm finding myself now having a lot more ease in the approach of asking for help. But again, you have to be mindful also, life is given and taken. It's not only one-way street. And, as we talk about Indian culture, karma is there, and it could be coming in both ways. It could be coming and bite you in the ass, excuse my French, or coming and giving you what you've been giving to other people.
Powerful. So let me ask you, what's next for you? What does the next 10 years look like? If I'm going to sit with you here after 10 years and I say, Rashid, what happened? What's the vision look like for you?
It's very a challenging question that you're asking me, Sugira. I think probably 20 years ago, be able to say, look, I know what I want to be in 10 years. Now, given the changes that is happening around the world, I think even from a supply chain perspective, if you even go more than 2 years or 3 years vision and strategy, it becomes extremely hard to achieve. And look, as an example, what artificial intelligence has done to the world. And we have to make sure that we are fully updated with everything that is happening, because that's part of our job. And so to answer your question, probably I want to still be doing what I'm doing, for a simple reason. I have a lot of passion for this job. And a lot of people say, why actually do you have a passion for this job? I'll tell you, Sugira, it's something that always keeps you on edge, supply chain. And I love that adrenaline, because, you think you fixed the problem today, and you fix the problem of today. And the day after, you get something actually you never anticipated. And with so many things happening in the world, there's always a challenge. What do you need to fix? And we went through the COVID, and we thought, like, great, we had a massive experience out of the COVID. Now, again, there's a whole discussion around the tariffs from the US, and a lot of companies are struggling. What is the next sourcing strategy for you? And last 2 weeks ago, actually, I was part of a consulting approach for big consulting company. So funny enough, big consulting company asking for my consultancy services. to help them finding alternative sources for one of their brands because literally they are struggling with everything around tariffs because the distribution is within the US but also within Europe. It was an interesting debate with two people from their sourcing organization, and you need to make sure that. So I love this job because it keeps you on the edge all the time, and as you can see, the grass doesn't grow in busy streets.
I love it. I love it. And I can see the passion from a mile away. It's why we've spoken to you, and I think it's quite powerful. And what I can see also within you, and just seeing in this podcast, like we said, it's not so much put in the limelight of the supply chain, right? It usually sales marketing, but I think now more than ever with technology and podcasts like this coming out, people like you should be on stages out there speaking, Dubai, different countries, speaking on stages to talk about these things and how these companies can improve their operations and exactly what you said, the promise to its customers. So I have a little game that I like to play. I'm going to say a word and then
Ooh,
your reply, you give me one word that comes to your mind. So, for example, when I say supply chain, what comes to your mind when I say that word? One word.
products.
Explain.
Well, without supply chain, we wouldn't be having any products. Just think about the supermarket, and that's also the things that is everything becomes a little bit as in a kind of normalized. People they go to supermarket, they buy the veggies, they buy the meat, they buy everything. They have no idea all the logistic behind it. For me, like I like to represent it, saying like, you know, I don't know, 30 years or 40 years ago, when we didn't have any electricity in the houses,
Mm.
and there was all that hassle going buying candles, and you have to have matches and everything to be able to get some lights, where you can spend sometimes reading a book. Now it just little gesture, push the button, and then the light is coming. Now you don't even have to push the button. You just have to use your voice and say, Alexa, can you switch the light for me? And then everything comes in. And so that's when you said supply chain for me is a product.
Product. Customer.
Loyalty.
Ooh, explain.
It's, you know, I refer to it from a marketing principle. Usually, what we see in the marketing, Segura, a customer that is extremely happy will be probably able to influence one or two people. One customer that is a little bit, unfortunately, whatever circumstance is, but he's not happy with whatever part of the company, whether it is customer service level, whether it is the product itself, whether it is the packaging, will be probably able to influence 10 people not to buy from that particular brand. And when you talk about the customer today within the organization, that's actually the most valuable asset for the company. And we forgot about it. For me, I always say companies or employees, if you have really good culture within the company, there's only two elements that you have to worry about. Is your branding and your customers. The rest is all internal issues and all internal noises. But what matters is actually your brand and your customers, as simple as it is. So the more loyalty you get from your customers, the better you're going to be more different than the others, because that's what makes a difference between, having, and you can see it also even from social media side of it. Even though it's not loyalty there, but the number of followers makes a difference between influencers. Someone who's got a 25 million followers will probably have higher probability of earning more money, put it that way, versus someone who's got 200 followers, even though the product is, or what this person is offering is probably much better, but what makes a difference is the number of customers you have. So for me, it's very important you gain the loyalty of your customers.
What do you do in a situation if you have, let's say, 10 very happy customers and maybe three not so happy customers? Sometimes those not so happy customers maybe communication, things like that. How does a company, you know, like all, it's going to happen. You're going to lose customers, right, as a business. So how do the ones who are passionate about serving their customers deal with those situations?
I think for me, it's a very good question. I'm not sure there is a remedy itself to it, but I think every customer, and I'm talking not even as a supply chain head, but I'm talking as a customer myself, I would probably appreciate the extra miles that the company will do. Yes, things might happen. And the first thing that I would expect from a company, it's not even admitting the issue. It's just reaching out, saying, "Look, we acknowledge the problems. We were supposed to get you this delivered." And everyone understands there is a lot of operation, there is logistic, there might be a strike in transport, whatever it is. But don't ignore the customer. I think the most important is, first of all, being able to raise the hand saying, yes, we acknowledge the issue, we're working in it, and this is what we're doing as a company to avoid not happening and not happening in the future, but also this is what we're doing for you as a customer. We understand. Can we replace you with the product? Can we do this? Can we do this for you? Can we give you a discount? Whatever action you want to take from a company point of view, but don't ignore the customers and hope for the best. It's just purely not going to happen. So I think that's probably the difference between, and that's also where, for me, also customer service is a very important function within the organizations. If you have a very good customer service, again, that understand the importance of customers, you will achieve a lot of good results. You might not be able to get back the 3 customers, but trust me, you will be at least able to get back 1 or 2.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. CEO.
Responsibilities.
Explain.
Huge one. Huge ones. Now you're in charge of everything. And we don't realize this actually, Sagera, when you're working for corporate businesses and yet there is always someone who's going to probably clean the bin and give you the check by the end of the month. When you are the CEO of the company, you're actually becoming that person who's going to be cleaning the bins for a lot of people and giving the check by the end of the month. And also more important, the people that are heavily depending on you, they also have families depending on them as well. So the numbers of people that you have to worry about becomes almost amplified. And it comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of responsibility to your family, to your employee, to your customers, but also to your suppliers. So it's a whole ecosystem. That's why sometimes it's a heavy one. Now, I'm in the shoes of the CEO position, and I can tell you, sometimes it is really heavy. It's a big shoe to fit in.
Well, I love it, and that's why we're here. That was quite powerful, Rashid. I want to thank you so much for sparing your time today to come and inspire audience. And I think we're going to hear so much more from you, so much value in this ecosystem. And I think, not just even in the supply chain world, I think in business and in general, I think a lot of these lessons that you've been teaching when it comes to supply chain can serve so much in the service industry, for example, what we're so familiar with, and in part of business that, keeping your promise to the customers and everything starts from the customer. And I think that's quite a lot of things that Jeff Bezos had said with Amazon. So even just breaking that example I gave was a clear example of things that I didn't think about when that situation happened. I didn't think about the supply chain. I just thought, what a good business. He had a problem on Saturday. I saw him. He was in pain. The next day, that's how they solve problems, right? And supply chain, what you do is fundamental to that, So yeah, thank you so much.
I think you summarize it very well, Sugera, there, because when you position yourself as a problem solver, that's I think that's probably one of the most powerful element to it. But I also want to take the time to say thank you again. I mean, it's a pleasure to know you personally, but thank you again for thinking of me and giving me the opportunity to speak up and talk a little bit about myself and supply in general. And also, I want to thank all the audience that have been watching us and listening to us. So, yeah, grateful for the opportunity.
No worries at all. So what we'll do is usually just after the episode, we'll also get this up. So it's up on YouTube so people can catch the replay if they weren't live. They'll be able to listen to it through Spotify. So, you're driving, you're in the gym, you'll be able to listen to this. A lot of people who are in this industry or, your potential clients, they can hear not just to come in, but to also get value from it and see how they can run their operations. And then if you want to get in touch with Rashid, you can. In the link in the description, his website, you can go and book a consultation call. And also, if you come through us, we can make that introduction. So thank you so much. And yeah, you have a wonderful weekend and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're going to love that one.